Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe. Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 3, entitled Talks Between Lord Shiva and Sati, and text number 21. I guess here's the mark. So let's see. There's no verse written on the board, so you will be probably not able to chant it, except for those who know this verse by heart. Nobody. Yeah, it's not such a famous verse. So, Papachyamani naridayurendriya samriddhibi purusha buddhi sakshinam akalpa esham adirodam anjasa param padam dveshti yatha suraharim. Translation. One who is conducted by false ego and thus always distressed, both mentally and sensually, cannot tolerate the opulence of self-realized persons. Being unable to rise to the standard of self-realization, he envies such persons as much as demons envy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Oh, very interesting. So, purport. The real reason for the enmity between Lord Shiva and Daksha is explained here. Daksha was envious of Lord Shiva because of Shiva's high position as an incarnation of a quality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and because Shiva was directly in contact with the Super Soul and was therefore honored and given a better sitting place than he. There were many other reasons also. Daksha, being materially puffed up, could not tolerate the high position of Lord Shiva. So his anger, 4:3:21. So his anger at Lord Shiva's not standing up in his presence was only the final manifestation of his envy. Lord Shiva is always in meditation and always perceives the Supersoul as expressed here by the words Purusha Buddhi Sakshinam. The position of one whose intelligence is always absorbed in meditation upon the Supreme Personality of God is very great and cannot be imitated by anyone, especially an ordinary person. When Daksha entered the arena of Yagya, Lord Shiva was in meditation and might not have seen Daksha enter, but Daksha took the opportunity to curse him because Daksha had maintained an envious attitude towards Lord Shiva for a long time. Those who are actually self-realized see every individual body as a temple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Paramatma feature is residing in everyone's body. When one offers respect to the body, it is not to the material body, but to the presence of the Supreme Lord. Thus, one who is always in meditation upon the Supreme Lord is always offering him obeisances. But since Daksha was not very elevated, he thought that obeisances were offered to the material body, and because Lord Shiva did not offer respect to his material body, Daksha became envious. Such persons, being unable to rise to the standard of self-realized souls like Lord Shiva, are always envious. The example given here is very suitable. Asuras, demons or atheists, are always envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They simply want to kill him. Even in this age, we find some so-called scholars commenting on Bhagavad Gita who are envious of Krishna. When Krishna says, Manmana bhavamat bhaktaha, Bhagavad Gita 1865, always think of me, become my devotee and surrender unto me. The so-called scholars comment that it is not to Krishna that we have to surrender. That is envy. The asuras or atheists, the demons, without reason or cause, are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, instead of offering respect to self-realized persons, foolish men who cannot approach the high standard of self-realization are always envious, although there is no reason. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshumilitam Nina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangong Langaya Tegirim Yat Kripata Mahang Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swabanantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Haribol. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, many things can be said about this relevant purport and verse. First, Prabhupada focuses on the reason for Daksha's enmity. He focuses on a kind of a spiritual reason, because sometimes another reason is also that he just, from a material point of view, didn't like Shiva having his beautiful daughter as husband. But Prabhupada goes here way deeper, actually. It's not just that he thought, oh, Shiva is dirty, or, he's in the assembly of demigods, he's not, it seems he doesn't fit into the assembly of demigods, which is actually true, and it's also said by Prabhupada that he's actually way higher, as not just being a representation of Krishna, as a guna avatar, but also in a sense of being a completely transcendental entity. And transcendental entities like those, of course, they don't fit into the association of materialists. And the demigods, even though they are very pious and have many good qualities, at the same time they are quite materialistic. Those who want to enjoy matter to the fullest, they go to Svarga. And we see imitations of that on earth. Many people, everyone is interested in material well-being, in material luxury, in a pleasant situation. very bewildering, very attractive. A big house with a big garden and a big car, many cars, and all that, right? This is money, all that is very attractive. So the demigods, they have pleasures like that to an incredible amount. So it's so, we cannot even imagine how much they can enjoy, how beautiful they are, how powerful they are, that they have mystic powers, they can enjoy so much. I was thinking about this a couple of days ago, that that the demigods are so wonderful that they don't only live in a beautiful world, enjoy all these wonderful things, and look incredibly beautiful. In comparison to humans, they are very, very beautiful. Humans, most of us are kind of okay, right? We are not too ugly, but not too beautiful. Some people are kind of ugly, some are more beautiful, but it's rare. Most of people are kind of normal, right? We are kind of normal. Some are exceptionally beautiful, then they are on the cover of some newspapers, right? because they're beautiful. It's also interesting. People become famous just because being beautiful. They don't have to be intelligent. Just something I decided. Recently I saw on YouTube there was a group of kids, and it was a big channel. So if they have a big channel, they have a lot of money and they can do all kinds of weird things. I think they paid some random people from the street or something like this, and they put them on a stage. And in advance, every one of them they were like 6-7 people, men and women, and they had to make, I guess, a IQ test. And those guys were sitting in front, and they had to guess who is the most intelligent and the least intelligent, and they had to put them in a certain order. That's quite funny. And they ask a couple of questions to find out who is more, who is less intelligent. Actually, in the end, the most stupid person had an IQ of like 70, and the most intelligent 160, which is quite high, right? And the one who has the smallest IQ was actually a good-looking lady, and she was even a model, right? And the most intelligent was actually also a lady, well, decent-looking, whatever, but she was more an academic, in between a couple of men, with also high IQs actually. But it's interesting that this beautiful lady, she was not the smartest. She had an IQ of 70, which is like low average, quite low. So the demigods, they have all these wonderful qualities, and among their wonderful qualities is that they smell very good, and not because they have perfume. They just smell good. And every demigod has his own smell. Like every demigod has his own looks. Like we also, every one of us looks different. We are individuals. And we have very individual body. Even voice is individual. There are no voices alike. Some voices sound similar, but at the same time they are unique, like your fingerprint, like your DNA. So the demigods, they also have individual smells. You can recognize someone with a smell from the smell. And I heard it, maybe I have to see where it is in Mahabharata, but I heard it actually from Adipurusha Prabhu. He told a story when Abhimanyu died on the battlefield, and Arjuna was so depressed, and he really wanted to see him or say goodbye or something. He was still attached to him. Then Krishna brought him, because Abhimanyu went to the heavenly planets after he died on the battlefield, the son of Arjuna. And so Krishna brought him to Svarga, that he can see him, but they were invisible. So he entered with Arjuna and Krishna in invisible form, entered the place where Abhimanyu was now in his heavenly form. And Abhimanyu was there with some other demigod or something like this, and he said, what's smelling so bad here? Because Arjuna had an Even though Arjuna's body is spiritual, but at the same time from material realm. So, and they said this is why Arjuna became detached from Abhimanyu. I said, okay, it's okay. I haven't read it, but I heard what he told this story. But at the same time, it's true that, of course, we don't smell well, right? We smell only good after we wash ourselves. And for some short time, it stays neutral, not even good, except you have some soap which has a good smell. And if we want to drag it out, then we have to use perfumes, which most of devotees are not really using, actually. Maybe they use some deo or something like this, but in general, we don't use perfumes to drag it out. Huh? But at one point, there's like a tipping point. Right in the beginning, you wash yourself, and then there's a tipping point where the neutral smell is tipped, and then you have to, what are we doing? Better wash yourself, not just put some perfume on top. So this is the problem. Actually, we are kind of in an ugly situation in this body. But the demigods don't have this problem. But the soul in this material body is quite obnoxious. But we don't recognize it because we're used to it since a long time. We're here. But actually, our bodies are quite obnoxious. So the demigods, they are amazing, beautiful, all that. And Shiva is not interested in that. Why? Because he is spiritual. He's a transcendentalist. And I guess any devotee, regular devotee, who is a bit more advanced, wouldn't feel comfortable in the association of materialists. Even though, maybe if we are not advanced, we might be very, pleased if you get a personal invitation to the Hollywood after-show party. Oh, I'm invited, I can go there, I can see all the celebrities, which I only know, hopefully not, from the cinema. And I can hang out there and see them. Oh, here's, I don't say any names. Anyway, this and that person, oh wow, I'm part of this scene. If you're a bit more advanced, I think it's not so attractive. What do you do there? All these materialists, all this drinking, all this superficiality, wouldn't be so attractive. Of course, if you say, but for preaching, and okay, maybe. But even then, be careful. So anyway, Shiva is a transcendentalist among all these materialists, and Daksha had a personal issue with him. And the real reason, and Prabhupada would focus on that, is that he was a devotee, that he was advanced. And for materialistic people, actually, a spiritual person is an botheration. Somehow or other, it bothers them. It makes them insecure even. It makes them doubtful. Because a spiritual person doesn't appreciate that. It doesn't give them all their glory and fame and their recognition, what they actually want with all the materialistic stuff. And this is also one reason why Hiranyakashipu wanted to kill Prahlad. There are many reasons, actually. Yeah, he thought he was siding with the enemy, he was betraying him, but on a deeper level, as Prabhupada says here, that a devotee, and actually it's because the devotee is a representative of God, and God is a problem for materialistic and demonic and envious people. Why? Because in the end, Krishna reflects, so to say. They are in front of this purity. They are encountering their own lower self. They actually have to think about themselves. And they don't want to do that. They want to go their demonic path, pursue that, want to be happy without God and all that. And it's kind of this triggers them. It's a reflection. Krishna doesn't do anything. Krishna says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu namet vishyostina priyaha. I'm completely transcendental and neutral to everyone. Krishna doesn't envy the demon. He says, be a demon, no problem. Do whatever you like. It's a free world. Yeah, but just the thought, the presence, the option, the possibility of the spiritual and all that it makes them insecure because that would mean they have to change something, they have to rectify, they cannot do like that what they are doing. It's a very deep psychological issue actually. Doubt, insecurity, conscience. It's very powerful. Conscience is very, very powerful. Everyone understand what conscience means? Gewissen. Conscience. Gewissen. Yeah? Gewissen. If you have ein schlechtes Gewissen. Conscience. Ne? You do something bad and you feel bad. I think everyone knows that, right? You have experienced that, and it can be quite nagging. Like, what? Okay, I was doing something bad, but it was not so bad, okay, but it nags. And it's very powerful, can be very powerful. There are people who do something bad, criminal acts, and they finally go to the police. And not even because they could be caught, or that just, it's such a bad conscience. I was feeling guilty, I couldn't live with this anymore. I want to be charged. I want to be charged. There has to be some, even punishment. There has to be some right. It has to be. I cannot live like that. I want to get rid of it. And people who are more actually in darkness, in tamaguna, they cannot hear this conscience so well, so strong. So devotees, we should have a strong conscience actually, to rectify ourselves, to be humble, to be good. Yeah. And at the same time, it's such a wonderful feeling if you have no bad conscience, if you feel free of that. Why? Because you're pure. Purity is such a liberating feeling. You feel good. No, I'm not doing anything bad anymore. I try to be good, and I have nothing to worry. I have nothing to worry. It's fine. Because I'm really trying hard, and I changed my ways. Nothing to feel bad about. And if we do something wrong, then we should have a bad feeling. Conscience should make us change that, be humble, excuse ourselves, whatever it takes to get rid of this bad conscience, this impurity. Yeah, it's very powerful. So, but that's why they want to kill everything divine, because divinity is the reason for conscience. Sometimes it's said that Paramatma is the reason for this conscience. It's telling you what is good and what is bad. So, and they want to get rid of this because they want to be bad without having bad feelings. But it's very difficult. But the further you go away, and you go into Dhammaguna, then it's more easy. Yeah, and there are people who can do bad things and don't worry about it. This is actually incredible. And nowadays, through the social media, we are confronted with so many bad things happening in the world. Actually, social media is a double-edged sword, right? It can be used in a very nice way. Many wonderful things. We can get so many informations. We can learn so many wonderful things. We can hear from devotees, be in contact with devotees, all that, be in contact with spiritual master. But at the same time, we can get many bad informations also. And there are so many. It's not that only nowadays bad things happen, but nowadays it's easy to get knowledge of it. I think always there were some really, really bad things happening, but now social media can show it. Everyone has a camera, right? It's amazing how many crazy or bad or also wonderful events were recorded. Because everyone has a camera. Before, no one had a camera. Who had a camera? It was something amazing if someone had a video camera, or especially a little bit older past, who had a video camera? And if someone had, oh, it's amazing, and you can make a video. And now this is no problem. So everyone with a camera quickly records any crazy thing that happens. And some bad things are happening. It's amazing how many extremely bad things are happening. And you feel, man, how can people be like that? It's amazing. So anyway, back to this point that so Shiva was a botheration for Daksha, and Daksha, he couldn't hold it back anymore because of envy. And he had to say it. He was also proud. Okay, envy is one thing, but so the pride, you might let it loose. If you're just envious, but you're not so proud that you feel that you can do whatever you like, you might be envious, silently envious. You don't like him, you're envious, but you don't say anything. But if you're proud, then I can say it also that he is this or that. So he was quite proud, and he, in a big assembly, was calling Shiva bad names and all that. And brought through this his own destruction also. Yeah. But still, I find this point of the envy very interesting, that Prabhupada says they want to kill Krishna. Even these so-called scholars. And it's true, there is a fight going on against God. There's always a fight against God, but nowadays we can see it also very clearly how anything about religion and this and that is, they want to destroy it, they want to get rid of it. And there's also attack on the religious people, religious books. Even in the name of spirituality, as Prabhupada said, the so-called scholars who comment on Bhagavad Gita. And actually it's true, before I came now to the lecture, I read a Bhagavad Gita translation of Aurobindo. I don't know Aurobindo, I just heard about him, but I had this in my library. And I thought, okay, let's see what he says. Then it's true, it is not outright Mayavad, but all the verses, it was in German, were translated in a quite... anyway, as Prabhupada says, it's not that when he wrote, like, when Krishna says, surrender to me, he says, yes, surrender to me, but at the same time, that what is kind of beyond me. And one thing he translated in connection to Bhagavad Gita 7:5, Apariyamitastra anyam prakritim vidime param chivaputa mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat, where Krishna says, there is another, a higher energy, these are living entities, this verse. And then in this translation he said that, and there is this higher energy, which are the living entities, the souls, and I come as the souls in the world. Typical Mayavad understanding. Because they say Jiva is Jiva is only the Brahman in the material energy. And Jiva out of the material energy is Brahman. And so all this New Age philosophies come about. Meaning, we are all God, but now we want to experience our own life, and this is how God expresses himself, right? God expresses himself through us, as us, that he can have more things that he can experience, and then he goes back into him. I don't know where is he going then, no? So this typical thing, right? So, of course, Mahaprabhu says we should not hear from the Mayavadis. Yeah. But what does it mean? It does mean you should not hear with an open heart. I want to learn now from this Mayavadi. But we should hear also what they say to refute them. If you can. You have to understand how advanced you are. Because sometimes devotees might think, I want to refute them, and then they get refuted themselves. I know one devotee, of course he was very young, bad decision, but he went into Indology department for studies. He studied Indology. So he studied what our thing on the university, Sanskrit and Vedic scriptures, and he became complete atheist. They destroyed his faith. He was very young also, but I don't know what's now about him, but he was even initiated devotee. This destroyed his faith. It's all their understanding. So we have to be very careful. How strong is our faith? How strong is our conviction? So, they want, and so they comment on Bhagavad Gita and present it in complete, Mayavadi way. They cannot accept it that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. They cannot accept it. Even Krishna says it very clearly. In Bhagavad Gita is interesting. Bhagavad Gita is one of the, how's it called, the Prashtantraya. It's called Prashtantraya, meaning like the three main sources for all Vedantic scholars. This is Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and Vedanta Sutra, Purushatraya. These three are like the main sources. They are also counted as Shruti. Sometimes Bhagavad Gita is counted as Smriti, so it's not 100% clear, but at least Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads are Shruti, so meaning they are very have a lot of authority, also for the Mayavadis. And but at the same time, Bhagavad Gita is outright, completely clear Vaishnava text. You cannot don't see it, right? If you isolate Bhagavad Gita from all the other Vedic books, whatever it might be there, some with more non-dualistic tendencies and some more on the mainly on the Puranic side with the more personal understanding. If you just take Bhagavad Gita as a representation for Vedic philosophy, then Vedic philosophy is personal. Bhagavad Gita, you cannot misconstrue. Of course, there are some parts where you can see, maybe you can interpret in a different way, but they are in a minority. And if, no problem, we understand that Krishna has an impersonal aspect also, so no problem. But you cannot say the whole Bhagavad Gita is impersonal text. Krishna says over and over that he, as a person, is supreme. And he's never speaking about some source of his. Exactly the opposite is the case. So, but still Bhagavad Gita is liked by all kinds of Hindu, Vedic philosophers. Many amongst our Mayavadis or Advaita Vedanta have Advaita Vedanta leanings. And they just, I don't know, they just want to have their pitch in the Bhagavad Gita discussion because Bhagavad Gita is so famous. It's the book from India, so to say. It's the book, way more important than even Vedanta Sutra, which is the book for Vedanta scholars. Bhagavad Gita is super, super important. You can see this in the amount of commentaries which were written for Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the most commented book from India or from Vedic library. Most commented, meaning has the most importance. Everyone had to have his understanding, everyone, even Shankaracharya was commenting on it. So when we can see, according to how many, so it means there was a lot of discussion about Bhagavad Gita. The commentary was just a written form, right? But there was so much discussion, so much explanation on Bhagavad Gita. So this is the most important book in that sense from the Vedic library. I don't know if it's the second most important, but at least highly commented. I can ask you, what is another highly commented book from all these Vedas and shows its relevance? It's highly commented, yes. Srimad Bhagavatam has 80 commentaries. This is amazing, because this is a complete Vaishnava book. Complete Vaishnava book. So it shows Srimad Bhagavatam was in the overall context of Vedic discussion very important. More than 80, at least alone in Bengali, there are 40 translations of Bhagavatam. 40 translations in Bengali language. This is also what Krishna Kshetra Maharaj and Ravi Gupta, what's his name? Ravi Gupta. I forgot his name now. Say when they speak about the Bhagavatam, that was a very influential and important book. It's not just one among all, because the Vedas are so vast, and there are many which are very important, like Vedanta Sutra, some certain Upanishads, which are super famous and important and relevant. But among all these relevant Sanskrit texts, the Bhagavatam ranks very high, maybe even second after Bhagavad Gita. Meaning it was very, very famous, important, relevant, and had some impact. Bhagavatam. First translation in the European language was 1769 into the French was the first translation, French. And then in the 19th century into English. But first they were French. And the Victorian Brits, so who were ruling then India, they didn't like the Bhagavatam at all and actually used it against the Hindus. Because according to their Victorian morality, because what is the main part of Bhagavatam? It's the 10th canto, it's about Krishna. And so they say, what God are you worshipping who is having so many wives and all that? And they really took issue with that and used it against the Hindus to show them how backwards their religion is. They made lots of propaganda in that sense. As if their Christianity was morality so superior, in a moral sense, so superior. Anyway, it's politics, it's all politics. But back to this point that the Bhagavad Gita is complete Vaishnava text, but at the same time they misconstrue, and Krishna is very frank and open and direct, and probably every one of you knows a couple of verses where Krishna says, I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In one way or other, he doesn't say it all the time. But they cannot accept it. No, it cannot be, it must be different. He's some representation of some impersonal force, some abstract being, something, whatever. So this is an attack on Krishna from this side, but here in the Western world, of course, we have all this attack on religion and on that what religion represents. I don't have to speak much more about that, but we are now in the... Is it still going on, this Pride Month? This is a complete attack on the religion and for what religion stands. It's so crazy. Sometimes we can really think we are in the end times. This is the end times. The Pride Month, the Pride, because... anyway, I don't want to speak about it. It's so stupid. It's so crazy, it's so stupid. Why they call it Pride, You know, any important day in the calendar of a nation, a country, that they have like one day, like Christmas is one day, right? And the religious days, or the national day, like one day, but they have a whole month now. They get a whole month. How important, Yeah, it's whatever. Whatever they do, it stands for everything what it stands for everything what religion stands against for, so to say. Okay, so back some practical point maybe for us from this purport. Yeah, envy is always a problem, and envy roots in our enmity even towards Krishna. And even though being devotees, we can see there is still enmity towards Krishna. We shouldn't think, oh, I love Krishna, because if you wouldn't have envy, you would love Krishna. And envy means that you want something what is someone else. What is someone else's? Else's? You speak. Who is a native English speaker here? Nobody. Anyway. Someone else's? You say like this? I don't know. But anyway, everyone understands what I mean. Right? Envy means you have something what I like. Oh, you have so nice glasses. I want to have these glasses. You should have them. You have also nice glasses. Oh, you have also nice glasses. Oh, he also. Oh, you also. So many people's glasses. Yeah, envy means it's actually indirect appreciation, right? You have something what is really nice, what I like, but it's just not right that you have it. I should have it. And that's why I hate you. Prabhupada very often translates envy with hate. Dvesha, in Sanskrit means dvesha. Sometimes he says envy, sometimes he says even hate. Yeah, so I hate you because I like something what you have. Interesting. So, because we are the soul, and the soul belongs to Krishna, and the soul should be Krishna conscious, and the soul should love Krishna, which means he should always think about Krishna and should act for Krishna. Anytime we are not acting according to this basic understanding, we're actually envious of Krishna. Because we want to have something for us what is actually for him. We are for him. And everything what we are capable of doing is for him. most of the time we are not acting according to that. At least not in the natural way, because we are sadhana bhaktas, meaning most of our acting in a Krishna conscious way is in one sense superficial. It's not superficial in like, you know what I mean. It's not really that we act out of complete love and willingness. It's more, I have to. I like to have to, yes, I enjoy it also, but still the conviction comes a lot from intellectual understanding, right? So it's not natural when we act for Krishna, but it will. In some ways we are, of course, having some taste, and some natural aspects are there too. Shouldn't be too negative, right? Some natural tendencies are there too, but sometimes not, right? Some things we don't do because of love. I should do it. Anyway, back to the point. But actually the soul is meant to love Krishna, so anytime we don't love Krishna, we are acting out of some, of course, ignorance is the base. Yeah, we don't know what we are doing or what we should do, but we can say that we are not acting according to that what we are meant to act, because we don't want to give Krishna what is his. We don't want to give Krishna, we don't want to give us to Krishna. I don't want to give myself to Krishna. I want to use myself for me. Which sounds kind of natural. Of course, use yourself for yourself. No, it's not selfless. It's not what the nature of the soul is. I want to use myself for me. Sense gratification or self-gratification. I use myself, my potency, whatever, to gratify myself. Isn't it? It's what we are doing. Egocentric. Huh? But we should use ourselves, whatever we have in capacity, for Krishna. So, and why don't we do it? Okay, I'm doing enough, right? I chanted my rounds, I read some, I did for Krishna. What's the problem? So now for me. There's some envy there. We don't want to give. It's for me. I am for me. I'm not for Krishna. And maybe it's not so sinister in that sense, so demonic. Oh, I don't want to give it to Krishna, it's for me. It's more kind of, we are trained like that since time immemorial. But at the same time, the enmity, the antagonism, the negativity would come out. It always comes out in the face of separation. You know what I mean? In the situation of separation, when, like someone smoking, many smoked, right? If you smoke, and someone tells you, why don't you give it up? And you say, I could give it up. No problem, I'm not addicted. You're addicted, you should give it up. No, I'm not addicted, that's why I'm not giving it up. I don't have to. I only would have to give it up if I'm addicted. If I see there's a problem, I have to change it. But if there's no problem, why should I change it? Many people argue like that. So then try, and then you see how much you're addicted. And how much negativity comes out then also. So try to serve Krishna just 24 hours. Or do everything for him and see how you feel. I think on many points you feel quite bad. Because it's, no, I don't want to now read Bhagavatam, already enough now. I want to do something else now. I want to watch now TV or something. You get triggered. You will see how much attachment actually there is. In the face of separation comes all this antagonism, the negativity comes out then, if it's taken away. Or just love Krishna 24 hours. Just love him now. Think about him in a loving, kind way. How long can you do it? Yeah. So this is, I think we have a long way to go. Maybe some are further on the path, some not so far. But Krishna is very nice and kind, and it's not that it's just a misunderstanding that we think, if I give to Krishna, if I love him, if I think about him, if I read Bhagavatam, if I chant a bit more, then it's somehow bad, right? Because if we invest in our relationship with Krishna, if we invest in this devotional service, we are only gaining. We're only gaining because Krishna is very kind, and he rewards with a very sweet answer. Very sweet answer. And you feel actually good. You feel really good. Oh, it was so nice. Some extra rounds, some extra reading, oh, actually, it's nice because Krishna is very kind and very nice. Yeah. But there's a raging war in ourselves between this tendency to love Krishna and to just love ourselves. But with time, we will break through and become really advanced if we are ready for Krishna's service. Okay, Hare Krishna. Anything you want to add or comment? Yes?
Thank you, Prabhu, for lecture. I just want to mention like another view to selfishness, which I heard in one lecture, that like the true selfishness from the spiritual view is that we actually focus only on the spiritual activities in our daily life, because our true self is spiritual, and then the self-interest is spiritual. So just like it was funny to look at it from the other side.
I didn't catch it. Our self-interest is spiritual.
Yeah, like
you mean there's a spiritual selfishness?
Yeah, like we use the term selfishness for materialistic people, which are interested in their sense gratification and their material opulence.
Yeah.
But if we look at it like more deeply, then our true self is spiritual. We are souls, and then if then the true selfishness
is spiritual.
Like spiritual.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So, in that sense, we are sense gratifiers. We can be sense gratifiers. We can be sense enjoyers in a spiritual way if we serve Krishna. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhakti Uchate. If you gratify the senses of the master of the senses, then this is devotional service, and we are happy, automatically happy, right? But it's just that the focus is shifted, right? We are not trying to become happy by serving ourselves. We're trying to become happy by serving Krishna. And in the ideal sense, we are serving Krishna not to become happy. We are serving Krishna to make him happy, which automatically makes us happy. But if we at least understanding in the beginning, if I serve Krishna, I become happy, it's already better than the material understanding. And hopefully it will advance towards I want to make just Krishna happy and don't have to worry about my happiness. But at least we should understand that, what you say, spiritual self-interest, meaning if I just read Bhagavatam, if I chant my rounds properly, if I do all that, it's in my interest, it's good for me. So get rid of anything what is not good for our spiritual consciousness. In that sense, for many devotees, this might be a motivation, a better motivation than to be in this idealistic way, completely selfless, which is very difficult to understand and difficult to live and all that. So we can motivate us by bringing a bit more selfish goal into the discussion, which is already better than the material. And through this, we get anyway some spiritual taste and can advance. This is actually what we are preaching. The higher taste. We say the higher taste. And we can really, really say to everyone, if you do devotional service, you become way more happy than doing anything else. It's a proven fact. It's a proven fact. Chant Hare Krishna, singing Kirtan, read the Bhagavatam, associate with devotees, do this, and this is for your best, in your best interest. This is very practical and helpful preaching and understanding now for us. Sometimes we think preaching means always converting non-devotees to devotees. But preaching means also to convert me as a non-devotee into a devotee, right? Preaching is also for myself, for my conversion. And preaching means also to help other devotees become more devotees, better devotees. Okay? Something else? Good. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Brahmanande.